I don't even know your name. It's Viktor.
Viktor was easily my favorite character in the first season of Arcane. It seemed like a perfect explanation that the reason he would eventually become the
Metalist perfection
pro-transhumanism guy was because he was a cripple for his entire life. With the introduction of the Hex Core later in the season and Jace clearly going mad with the power of magic, I figured he'd end up rejecting magic altogether as a sign of defiance to Jace and the work that they'd done. I was very wrong. Now here we are, 3 years later, and Arcane's second season has come and gone, to a mixed reception, mostly thanks to its methamphetamine pacing. What upset me the most, though, is how Viktor was handled. He became the complete opposite of what he was in League. He's no longer the robotic transhumanist, but a magic god? In fantasy, there is a pretty clear dichotomy between magic and technology. Whole settings can lean one way or the other, as well as different regions in those settings. Runeterra is wide and vast enough that different places can have wildly different relations to magic, but the setting as a whole leans pretty hard into the magic side, what with several thousand-year-old emperors going around controlling legions of sand, spirits, and mist, respectively. Demacia is all about a mage rebellion, the Freljord is all about magic, Ionia is so filled with magic that it literally has a dead guy wandering around killing spirits. The Blessed and then Shadow Isles were filled with magic and then filled with a little bit too much magic. Targon is built on its godlike aspects. Noxus is pretty industrial, but has a demonic emperor at the helm. Ixchel theoretically exists. And Shurima? The place is so magical, it has an ascension process to turn people into gods. When Azir ascended into a bird, it went so wrong, it blew up the entire country. And when Azir woke up from his 1,000-year nap, he snapped his fingers and summoned the entire country back into existence. Point being, we're not exactly working in a low fantasy environment. But Arcane is set in Piltover and Zaun, which is probably the least magical of any of the regions, even including the pirate-infested Bilgewater. It's just a region of brilliant geniuses and inventors making wondrous things of their own creation. With Jace creating hex tech to bring magic to the least magical people in the world, and Viktor not exactly on speaking terms with the man it was the perfect opportunity for the writers to look at the situation before Viktor. A world filled with magic, harnessed by all of the powerful people around him, even now his partner, who has turned into a bit of a dictator, emboldened by the magic that Viktor helped him harness. And to really be the only character in the entire setting alongside maybe Heimerdinger to vehemently say no to it all. Where he'd differ from Heimerdinger is that he wouldn't just be shoving magic aside completely, but he'd go all in on technology and transhumanism. To give up not on only magic but also the human condition, and to turn to what's always consistent, durable, and reliable: metal. Especially after the Hex Core consumed Sky, I thought the immediate next plan of action was to hack off the leg that served as a permanent reminder of her obliteration and replace it with a prosthetic, one that would make him feel like
I am the first of many.
He would bring the glorious evolution to the people by giving them the gift of metal, an ailment to their weak bodies' problems and failures, and ensure they stay far off the path of magic. That was what I assumed was going to happen. In actuality, I don't think I could have been more wrong. Instead of destroying the Hex Core, Viktor instead combines with it, albeit against his will, which somehow connects him directly with the Arcane TM. He tells Jace off, he gets a free blanket, and then he leaves to the slums where he speedruns becoming a religious icon in record time. One convoluted set of events later, alcoholic Jace kills him, and instead of dying, Viktor instead becomes astronomically more powerful, just like what happens in real life. He turns all of his followers into mannequin people, for some reason, never explained. After this, Viktor has officially gone insane. He thinks the glorious evolution, the new one, not the old one, is destined, for some reason. Apparently being killed gives you delusions of grandeur. Can't say that's necessarily unrealistic, but it's a sharp character turn that comes so far out of left field it seems like there was meant to be an entire season of build-up to him coming to this conclusion, instead of one monologue. After Jace refuses to work with him, Viktor gives Singed the okay to start making the character VGU, much to everyone's dismay. Some Warwick goop into the bloodstream later, and that's enough to let him do this, for a reason that either wasn't given, or I didn't quite grasp. He's simultaneously not tethered to the Arcane anymore, but is also more tied to it than ever. I honestly have no idea what's going on here. Next time we see him, he's doing this, which must be a good use of his energy. They storm the city, Viktor here to do whatever ominous stuff he was talking about before, and the mannequins above ground to prep people for the glorious evolution, I guess. Oh, and Warwick has also been completely removed. Warwick League of Legends is no longer a character. Sorry, there is only a guy who is vaguely Warwick-shaped. Viktor powers up the plot device, and a lot of Mach 12 pacing later, carries his husbando straight first into the glorious evolution. Whatever the hell is happening on the screen right now occurs before Echo comes to blow it all up. Before that, though, we do have a genuinely gorgeous scene where Viktor and Jace have a talk in the Arcane TM that I can't take seriously because Viktor's face looks like that. Jace tries to give him the flaws are beauty talk and severely screws it up by trying to say that Viktor's crippled leg and literal cancer were good things, actually. Anyway, Viktor blows up, he and Jace make up and decide to absorb themselves into the Arcane TM together, and after a final reveal that's so apocalyptically stupid I'm going to save the rant about it for the end of the video, that's the end of the show. So here's a question. Where did any of that come from? In the span of the first season, Viktor went from being crippled to having a working leg. In the span of the second season, he replaced his entire body, twice actually, became the Arcane TM, controlled hundreds of minds at once, created and then gave up on the glorious evolution, almost absorbed half the cast, became a god, and then completely destroyed all of Warwick's lore. And most of that was in 2 episodes. With respect... What? Look, when you include magic as a significant element in a story, it's inevitably going to be at least a little up its own ass, because magic is intrinsically hand-wavy, but the effects of the Hex Core and Viktor literally ascending into another plane of existence both come out of nowhere and aren't adequately explored. After he is Kill and becomes Orb, Viktor now understands astronomically more about the setting than you do, and you are not caught up whatsoever. You don't necessarily need to explain every single fiction element of a story, but this arc really needed some more transitional scenes where Viktor is coming to terms with his newfound place in the universe and learning how it all works. Instead, after he grows into the Hex Core, all that either happens off-screen or he just somehow understands it all instantly and you're left to just make wild assumptions about it. That would be fine if he was a minor plot point, but he literally becomes the driving force in the story because he feels like it, I guess. Arcane aside, this Viktor has absolutely nothing to do with the old Machine Herald Viktor. The only thing they share is that title of Herald. The machine part apparently got completely left by the wayside. He is no longer the single character occupying the niche of transhuman roboticist. Instead, he's a mage. So very unique. He isn't even the only character that's the leader of a hive mind. Belveth is right there. If anything, Malzahar is a more interesting rendition of this type of character because he's willingly accepted the Void's touch to become its prophet. I love Viktor, obviously. I admit that not much is being lost quantity-wise. He had about 2 minutes of voice lines, but his vibe was so immaculate, and it was that I wanted to see expanded on. Instead, the Machine Herald is completely gone, replaced by the Arcane Herald that shares only a moveset with Old V. What they chose to do with him is okay. And he's probably gay now, but he's more like an autistic twink wearing Viktor's skin. If he had any left, anyway. It was this scene where everything went wrong. Instead of destroying the Hex Core and denouncing magic wholesale to be replaced with the hard science of that creepy old dude by the river, he instead goes on to have the Hex Core embrace him and become the Arcane TM. Oh, Viktor, what you could have been. Or already were. Can I talk about that final reveal now? I'm dying to. The magic mage guy that saved Jace as a child was not Rise like it was supposed to be and early versions even show it to be. Instead, it's Viktor. Somehow, when Jace was a wee child, his mother underestimated how hard the survival mod pack they were playing was going to be, and they almost starved to death and or froze to death in the cold of the Freljord. They were saved by a robed mage who teleported them away and then gave Jace a magic crystal. Now, not only is this literally Rise alt, early versions of this scene show that it was literally Rise, because no one else in the universe has a tri-pointed beard. If you look at the final thing, you can even see the beard flopping around, unless I guess Jace got saved by the crimson chin. That's pretty clearly a beard. Now, it's relatively clean-shaven Viktor, somehow. This makes so catastrophically little sense, I don't even know where to begin. Not only is this intrinsically paradoxical, it's nonsensical, and worst of all, completely unnecessary. Viktor gives Jace this crystal because, essentially, Jace is the only one who will help him realize his mistakes and where he's gone wrong. Which means that Viktor's plan is the following. Jace, I knew that you would devote your life's work to the crystal I gave you. You would move to where I live, and that I would find you working on it. I would stop you from committing suicide like you will do for me. We will make a world-changing discovery discovery together, probably have gay relations, and that we will further discover how to corrupt our own work, and that said corruption would consume my entire body, I will go completely insane, and when you try to kill me, I will live with the help of that creepy guy I used to make boats with, and after I try to assimilate all of the world, you somehow are the only one who can stop me from going insane. Even if you ignore the second half as experiences he already had in his life, assuming he needs to give Jace this crystal and that doing so will make him move to Piltover, and that he'll make it his life's work is a leap of logic larger than Warwick ult. The scene also pretty explicitly states that Viktor saw what would happen if he gave Jace each rune. Now, I don't know how many runes there are, and I doubt the writers do either, but I was planning on using the sex tech scene from Season 1 to figure this out, but there's only 4 runes here, reused in all the different pieces of the Rubik's Core, and their symbols don't match what's in Season 2, so who knows how many there are. That means that just off screen before this scene, there are somewhere from 4 to 50 Victors getting pushed aside by Viktor Prime, who has finally cracked the case on which rune will magically solve all their problems. And you remember the Dark Souls scenes where Jace is walking through like literal hell? Viktor is watching him through all of that, and he saw Jace eat it and fall down that giant hole then what? Sat on a lawn chair for months while he waited for Jace's leg to heal and for him to crawl out of the hole? Well, Jace will get up here eventually. I could go down and help him, but he deserves it. No, Viktor has to wait on top of the giant destroyed Hextech gate that Jace somehow managed to climb off screen. There's simply no other way. Given that they have directly retconned elements of one of the most important scenes in the entire show, I'm starting to believe that the claims that it was all planned from the start were, wrong. What makes this so extra frustrating is that it being Rise both makes way more sense and would be better, because it doesn't open up plot hole city, population as many as you can think up. I don't think Arcane Viktor is a complete failure. He does have some interesting aspects to him. He's not the Machine Herald anymore. He's just a herald. Thanks to my patrons, Emmy and Potato especially. Like, comment, subscribe, you know the drill, and have a good night. And what was with the fish guy?